Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling this book, Economy of Wisdom by Sev Karaskin.
Yep.
And I gotta say, this one really makes you think about
It really does.
success and happiness and kind of what it all means.
It's a fascinating read, especially I think with all the hype around AI right now. I think a lot of these ideas are going to really resonate with people.
Yeah, absolutely. So he dives right into this concept of the human unfulfillment crisis, which sounds a little bleak, but I think we can all relate to this.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that, even when things are good on paper, there's still this,
Yeah,
nagging feeling of, is this all there is?
absolutely. And it's more common than I think.
Right.
And Jaraskin points to this idea of the hedonic treadmill
Okay.
to try to explain why that is.
Okay.
And so, when you think about you buy something new, you're convinced it's going to make you happy, but then, pretty soon that feeling fades.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hedonic treadmill in action.
Yeah. 100%. Like that new phone excitement
Yes,
gone in a week, tops.
exactly. Our brains are just wired to kind of get used to things, even good things, right? So we're constantly chasing that initial high, whether it's a promotion or, a bigger house or the latest gadget,
Mm-hmm.
but it's fleeting, right? We adapt, and then we're right back to kind of wanting more.
So we're constantly running towards happiness,
Yeah.
but never actually catching it.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this is where the problem grows even bigger.
Right.
Because this cycle feeds directly into our current economic system,
Mhm.
which is built on us constantly wanting more.
Okay, so that makes sense, but if it's all kind of just hardwired in us, is there anything we can even do about it?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
And Jaraskin, he argues that, part of the issue is that we're focused on all the wrong things, right?
Okay.
So our current economic model, with its emphasis on material wealth, it completely neglects, our intellectual and our emotional well-being. So he kind of breaks down human needs into these three buckets:
Okay.
material needs, intellectual needs, and emotional needs.
Right.
And a lot of times we're trying to fill those emotional needs with material things.
Oh, okay.
And it's no wonder that we feel empty.
Yeah, it's like trying to solve a puzzle, but you have the wrong pieces.
Yes.
You can kind of get close, but it's never gonna truly fit.
Exactly. It's about finding fulfillment in our relationships, pursuing intellectual growth, contributing to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Those are the missing pieces, right?
Okay.
And remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Vaguely. It's that pyramid thing, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not that the bottom tiers, those basic needs, aren't important.
Right.
Of course they are.
Of course.
But, Taraskin is saying that instead of, just getting stuck on simply climbing that pyramid by acquiring more stuff, we should be aiming for balance across all of our needs.
So it's about more than just surviving. It's about thriving.
Exactly. And here's the kicker, right? Taraskin argues that when we're stuck in that cycle of unfulfillment, always chasing more, it can actually lead us to give away our power.
Give away our power.
Yeah.
That sounds a little ominous.
Yeah.
What does he mean by that? Give away our power. That sounds a little ominous.
Right.
What does he mean by that?
Well, think about it this way. When we're feeling, inadequate or insecure,
Right.
we're more likely to look for someone or something to kind of fill that void, right?
Okay.
We crave that sense of belonging, that validation, and unfortunately, that can make us really vulnerable to manipulation.
So it's not just about companies selling us stuff. It's they can actually influence our thoughts and behaviors on a deeper level.
Exactly. And this is where social media comes in, right?
Yeah.
It preys on that
Yeah.
need for connection,
Right.
offering this illusion of community and belonging.
Okay.
But often it just leaves us feeling emptier and more disconnected.
Yeah.
Have you ever caught yourself scrolling for hours and then you just end up feeling worse afterward?
Ugh, yeah, all the time. It's a guilty pleasure that doesn't even feel good.
Exactly. And, there's a reason for that. It's those addictive algorithms, right?
Right.
The ones that are designed to keep us glued to our screens. They thrive on our insecurities, on our desires.
Okay.
And think about how targeted ads work, right?
Okay.
They're not really selling products. They're selling solutions to our perceived flaws and longings.
Oh, okay.
It's we're handing over our wallets and our decision-making power to these algorithms that are designed to keep us hooked.
Okay, that is kind of terrifying when you put it like that.
Yeah.
But it's not just about advertising though, right? Jaraskin also talks about how this ties into this whole ceding power thing.
Absolutely, yeah. He argues that the more unfulfilled we feel,
Mm-hmm.
the more likely we are to give away our power to anyone who promises to fulfill those needs, whether it's a charismatic leader or an influencer or even a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
We crave security, we crave validation,
Right.
and we become willing to sacrifice our independence, our critical thinking to get it.
So instead of like connecting with our communities, building those real relationships,
Yes,
we're turning to these external sources for validation.
exactly.
And in the process, giving away our power.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this can manifest in a lot of different ways, right?
Right.
Think about the increasing control that governments and corporations are exerting over our online lives.
Right.
We might think it's about safety or convenience, but it also erodes our freedom, our autonomy.
Yeah, it's like we're trading our agency for this illusion of comfort and security.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is where Garaskin brings in this concept of social identity
Yeah, okay.
and how that plays into these power dynamics.
Okay.
So it's basically about the groups that we identify with,
Right.
our nationality, ethnicity, our political affiliation, you name it. And these identities give us a sense of belonging.
Right.
It's a basic human need.
Right. We all want to feel like we belong somewhere, like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. But Jaraskin argues that when we're feeling insecure or unfulfilled,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to cling more tightly to those social identities.
Okay.
And that makes us even more susceptible to manipulation because it's easier to pit us against each other based on those differences, right?
Right. It's that classic like us versus them mentality that we see everywhere these days.
Exactly. And it's often used as a tool to distract us from the real issues and prevent us from questioning the status quo.
Okay.
And this is where it gets even more concerning
Yeah.
in the age of AI.
Because AI is learning from all this data, right?
Exactly.
And if we're feeding it this constant diet of division and insecurity,
Right.
that's the world that it's going to create.
It's a real concern. If we're not careful, we're going to end up with AI systems that just reflect and amplify our worst impulses.
Right.
And it just deepens those divides and makes it even harder to break free from these cycles of unfulfillment.
So it's not just about us as individuals, it's about like the kind of future that we're creating for ourselves, for like future generations.
Exactly.
But Garaskin does offer a way out, right? He talks about this economy of wisdom.
Yeah.
What exactly does that look like?
It's really more of a shift in mindset than anything,
Okay.
Like imagine a world where instead of constantly chasing more, you're focused on like making meaningful connections, pursuing your passions,
Right.
contributing to something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
That's the essence of what he calls the economy of wisdom.
Okay, so it's less about like buying things and climbing ladders
Yeah.
and more about, well, wisdom.
Yeah.
But like, how do we get there? It feels like kind of a big leap from where we are now.
It is. It's a journey for sure,
Yeah.
but it starts with like small conscious choices.
Yeah.
Right. And so Garaskin talks about breaking free from what he calls the social identity treadmill,
Right.
which is,
Like,
that's where we get so caught up in our labels and our differences that we kind of forget our shared humanity,
right.
And he tells this great story about his time at this multicultural resort
Yeah.
where you had people from all walks of life and they were, spontaneously connecting and forming these genuine bonds despite their differences,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like they were stepping off that treadmill and realizing that, we have more in common than we've been led to believe.
So it's about looking beyond the labels and just remembering that we're all,
Yeah.
humans just trying to figure things out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's about, choosing to connect with people who challenge your assumptions and broaden your perspective, And he tells this other anecdote about this Uber driver he met who talked about how moving to a new city actually helped him break free from a lot of the prejudices that he had kind of grown up with,
Wow.
And he was surprised to find himself forming friendships with people from a culture that he had, been kind of taught to distrust, but just because they were his neighbors,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
shared these common interests.
It's amazing how those everyday interactions can really like shift your perspective.
Yeah, totally.
But like if we are talking about like a whole new kind of economy here,
Yeah,
doesn't that require like big systemic change?
sure.
Like what can one person really do?
Yeah, and it might seem daunting, but, remember, every system is just made up of individuals
Right.
making choices.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, each time you choose to, spend your money on a locally owned business instead of a giant corporation, Each time you choose to, have a conversation with someone with a different viewpoint.
Right.
Each time you choose to prioritize your well-being over just like endless consumption,
Yeah.
you're casting a vote for a different kind of future.
So every little action kind of adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's empowering to think about it that way.
Yeah. It is. It
And,
is.
and here's the really exciting part.
Okay.
This shift towards an economy of wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean rejecting technology altogether, right?
Okay.
In fact, Garaskin believes that AI can be a really powerful tool for positive change
Okay.
if we design it with the right values in mind.
So instead of AI that's designed to like exploit our insecurities and keep us hooked on consumption,
Right.
we can create AI that helps us like connect more deeply, learn more effectively, live
Exactly.
more fulfilling lives.
I imagine like an AI that recommends books that challenge your worldview,
Right.
or connects you with volunteer opportunities that align with your passions,
Yeah.
or helps you have, more meaningful conversations with people you disagree with. That's the potential here.
Wow. It's almost like we're talking about like raising a generation of AI that's actually like wise,
Yeah, yeah.
but that requires us to be more conscious, not just as like consumers, but as like
Totally.
creators.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. We have to be mindful of the data that we're feeding these systems, the
Yes.
questions that we're asking them,
Mm-hmm.
the values that we're embedding in their very code.
Yeah.
It's a huge responsibility, but it's also an incredible opportunity, right?
Right.
To really reshape our world for the better.
It is a lot to consider, but it is also incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from all this?
I think just the fact that they have more power than they realize, right?
Mm-hmm.
The power to choose fulfillment over fleeting pleasure,
Yeah.
connection over division, wisdom over mindless consumption. They have the power to shape their own lives,
Yeah.
and to contribute to a future where technology amplifies our humanity. It doesn't diminish it.
Beautifully said. So as you go about your day, ask yourself, what small step can you take today to align your choices with your values? What can you do to nourish your own well-being, strengthen your connections, and support the creation of a world that prioritizes wisdom and fulfillment? It's a journey worth taking, one conscious choice at a time. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and remember, the power to change your world starts within.